Hi, good day all. So today we'll be doing Jan 2019, number 1, paper 2. So let's read the first question. They said in the first question, evaluate 3.8 multiplied by 10 to the power 2 plus 7.1 multiplied by 10 to the power 2 given your answer in standard form. Now, there are several ways that you could have done this. Alright, the first way is multiplier. Now, 10 to the power 2 just means 10 multiplied by 10, which is 100. So it's 3.8 multiplied by 100. Right? And when you're multiplying by 100, you shift your decimal point. How many zeros are there in 100? 2. So you'll shift it 1, 2 to your right hand side. So 3.8 multiplied by 100 is 380. Right, and then same thing with 1.7 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. 10 to the power 3 is equal to 10 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10, which is equal to 1,000. So this would be 1.7 multiplied by 1,000. How many zeros are there in 1,000? There are 3 zeros in 1,000. So you shift your decimal point 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. Right? There are no numbers here, so you fill it in with zeros. So this here, 1.7 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3 is equal to 1, 7, and 2 zeros. So your question is basically 380 plus 1,700, right? And that's supposed to be 2,080. Right? Let's just check, because I don't want to make any mistakes. 1,700 plus 3,380, that's 0, 8, 10, cross out the 0, put the 0 here, 1 and 1 is 2. So again, 2,080. So you're going to add 2,080, right? And they said give your final answer in standard form. Now, in standard form, the aim we want in standard form is to have one digit after your decimal point. So 2080. If there's no decimal point that we are seeing, the decimal point is at the end here. So you're going to shift it 1, 2, 3 to have only one digit in front of your decimal point. So it's going to be 2.080 multiplied by 10 to the power of. Now, if you shifted your point to the left hand side, your power is positive. So it's positive. And how many places did we shift it? 3. So it's positive 3. So it's 2.080 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. And that would be the answer for the first question. The second part of the question says, is a fraction question. A half multiplied by 3/5, all divided by. Now this over sign here means to divide, okay? So it's basically 1 over, hold on. Let me just shift this a little bit so I could, right. So it's 1 over 2 multiplied by 3 over 5. I'll put that in brackets. All divided by 3.5. Now, yes, I remember I said do bud maths, but if the question is like this, you always do the top part. And if, let's just say this had +1, you would have done the top part first, the bottom part after, and then divide. Okay? So now it is going to be, so you're going to do the top part first, which is a half multiplied by 3/5. Let's do that. A half multiplied by 3 over 5. Numerators and denominators have nothing in common here, so it is 3 over 10. So now the question is 3 over 10 divided by 3.5, right? Which is 3 over 10 divided by, what is 3.5 as a mixed number? That's 3 2s are 6, 7. So this is 7 over 2. And when you're dividing fractions, what happens to it? That division sign turns to multiplication, and you flip your fraction after. So instead of 7 over 2, it's going to be 2 over 7. Right? 2 into 2, 1. 2 into 10, 5. You look at the numerators and the denominators, nothing can go into anything there. So 3 by 1 is 3. 5 by 7 is 35, and that would be your answer. Or if you want, you could put it in your calculator. What you're going to put in your calculator is, you see what I have here? Right? You're going to put, remember, when you're doing fractions, there's the A, B, C button, and that means over, right? So when I'm calling out, instead of ABC, you'll hear me say over button, right? So it's 1, and when you press that ABC button, it's going to be like this, 2. So open bracket, 1 over 2, multiply by 3 over 5. It just tells the calculator, hey, I want you to multiply first, right? Then divide by 3.5. I'm saying 3.5, but you're putting 3 over 1 over 2. So let's do it. Open bracket, 1 over 2, multiply by 3 over 5, right? Divided by 3 and 1 over 2. Right, I do get the same answer as 3 over 35. So we know that your answer is correct. And you do this because they didn't say that, they say use calculator otherwise. They did not, just said evaluate, so you have to show your working, okay? Your calculator is just there to check to see if your final answer is correct or if not. Right, so my answer is 3 over 35. All right, so the second part of the question is express number 6 as a binary number. Now, this question is basis questions, and I'll let you guys know something about basis. Honestly, in the past, let's say from 2010 straight down to 2023, right, in all the past papers, this is the only basis question that I have seen they brought, right? Now, how to convert, now a normal number, in this case 6, right? Normal counting numbers that we deal with, although we don't write it, it is the base 10. So we're going from a base 10 number to a binary number, and bi stands for 2, so they're asking from a base 10 to a base 2 number system. This is basically what we're going to do, okay? Now, to go from a base 10 number to a base 2 number, right, what we do is we divide it by the base which kind of converted to. So if, let's just say it was a base 3 system, we would have divided it by 3. But in this case, it's a base 2 system, so you divide by 2. Right? So if it was a base 4 system, you would divide by 4. If it was a base 5 system that you're converting it to, divide by 5. Right? So again, to go from a base 10, which is a normal ordinary number, to a base 2 system, we divide that base 10 number by the base we're trying to convert it to. So how many times can 2 go into 6? 2 could go into 6 3 times, and your remainder, is their remainder? No, so your remainder is 0. Right, so this is how we're going to do it now. Then they say 2. How many times 2 could go into 3? 2 could go into 3 1 time, and your remainder is 1. Then you divide by 2 again. How many times 2 could go into 1? 0 times, and your remainder is 1. Right? And once you get 0 at the end of this number, your remainders is what your bases will be. So you go up. So my number, base 6 to base 10, is equal to 110 to base 2. So that would be the answer of my question, or of this question. So if you are using your calculator, your sharp calculator, to convert a base 10 number, which is 6, to base 2, if we look at this, we see in hex, binary, pentagon, octagon, and DEC. Binary is base 2. So you're going to press 6, and then second function, the number that has BIN over it, and when you press that, so you're going to put 6 first, which is the base 10 number. You're going to press second function, binary, right? And that will convert it, that 6, to your binary number, and you'll get something like this. 6 arrow BIN, and the answer would be 110B, which means the base 2, basically. right? And that's how you would do it on your calculator to check. Part C of this number one question says, John bought a car for $6,500. If the value of the car depreciates 8% each year, how much will the car be worth at the end of 2 years? So to do depreciation question, right, to do a depreciation question, there are two ways to do it. Method one is where you use your formula of depreciation, right? So the formula is amount is equal to your principal multiplied by 1 subtract your rate over 100 all to the power of n, which is number of years, right? So P is a principal, that's amount invested, which is 6,500. So your P is equal to 6,500. 65,000. What am I saying? 6,500. R is your rate, which is 8%, and N, which is your number of years, is 2. You put this in your calculator, you are going to get, so this is what you're going to put in your calculator. 6,500, why am I saying 6,500? 65,000, right? Open bracket 1 minus 8 over 100 to the power of 2. Now, there are two ways that you can get this power of, right? There is this YX button, and then there's the X2 button. YX will give you to the power of, like this symbol, and you have to actually press number 2. However, if you have X and a little squared button, that is to the power of 2, right? When you do that, you will not get that upside down V. Let me make sure. No, you wouldn't get the upside down V if you press the X2 button. You'll just see it look like this, and the 2 would look a little bit significantly smaller, right? So when you're doing this, let's see, when you press that, you're going to get the amount for the car would be equal, so you put this in your formula, this in your calculator, $55,016, and that would be your answer, right, for this question. That is if you remember the formula. Now, this is a formula that I would recommend to remember, because if you're doing compound interest, the only difference between amount and depreciation and compound interest formula is that compound interest is principal, open bracket, 1 plus R over 100 all to the power of n. So the compound interest have a plus sign, and the depreciation have a negative sign. So I would recommend that you remember this formula, right? The second way now, right, is you do it each year. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to find out the depreciation after 1 year. So we know that it depreciates by 8%. So that's 8 over 100 multiplied by the value of the car, 65,000. When you multiply this, you are going to get 5,200. So after the first year, I depreciated that. So the new value of the car, this is method 2, by the way. The new value would be 65,000 minus 5,200. So after 1 year, the price of the car would be 559,800, right? And then you find 8% of that amount. So your depreciation after another 1 year, it would be 8 over 100 multiplied by 59800 over 1. When you multiply this, you're going to get $4,784. That's how much it depreciated again, right? So therefore, the value of the car, this is how much it's depreciated after a second year, right? Let me just put 2 years, right? So the value of car after 2 years would be 59,800 minus $4,784, which is equals to 55,016. Yeah, $55,016. And that would be the answer, which is the same answer as you got when you use the formula. Right, so these are the two ways that you would do this question. So last part of number 1 in 2019 January. The table below shows the result obtained by a student in her CSEC maths examination. The maximum marks for each paper is given in the third column. So this is the maximum mark for the paper. Right, so obviously the maximum mark would be 100%. So these values here, let me just say 100%, that might confuse you. No, it's 100%. Right? So if they said determine as a percentage of final mark for the mathematics examination, right? There are two ways that you could have done this question, right? Let me just check this. So what we are going to do is we are going to find out the marks this person obtained for each paper. So we know that this is 55%, this is 60%, and this is 80%. So to find out how many marks would be 55% by 30. So for paper 1, this person would have gotten 55% multiplied by 30 over 1, right? When you multiply that 55 multiplied by 30, you know that the person in paper 1, they made 16.5. Right, that's how much marks they got on the first one. The next one, paper 2, would have been 60 over 100, which is 60% multiplied by 50 over 1. Cross out that, cross out that, cross out that. That's 30. Right, the next one, paper 3, is 80 over 100 multiplied by 20 over 1. Cross out that, cross out that, cross out that. So this person made 16. Right? So we know that if the total number of marks they would make, if this is how much in marks they got on paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3, would be 16.5 plus 30 plus 16. Right? This person got 62.5. Right? And the maximum number of marks is 100. So we know, we're going to look at this. If 100%, no, if 100 marks equal to 100%, then 1 mark, we can see is clearly 1%, 100 divided by 100, which is equal to 1, and therefore we want to find what is 62.5. That's 100 over 100 multiplied by 62.5, or 1 multiplied by 62.5, which is 62.5%. And that is how you would get the answer for this last question. We'll determine as a percentage of final marks for the mathematics examination, 62.5. And that is how you would do January 2019, number 1.